This is my positive unmedicated birth story. So my daughter's due date was on a Monday, and at my 40-week appointment, I went in and I opted to get a membrane sweep. I was already about 4 to 5 centimeters dilated, but I was going to a birth center for all my prenatal appointments, and I was planning to give birth at the birth center as well, so I did opt for a membrane sweep. So then on Tuesday night, I mentioned something to my husband about how I was feeling a little crampy, but I honestly didn't think anything of it. I was just kind of assuming that the membrane sweep wasn't going to work for me. I don't know. I think I was just continuing to gaslight myself that I was not in labor. But my husband went ahead and called the midwife and kind of told her what was going on, and she just told me to try to sleep through it because that'll kind of indicate whether or not it's false labor. So I tried to go to bed on Tuesday night, and I ended up getting out of bed around like 1 a.m. just because laying down the contractions were so intense, but I just kept telling myself like I was cramping and that it wasn't labor. Then from about 1 a.m. to 5 a.m. I was timing my contractions, and they were 4 minutes apart, a minute long, for 4 hours. That whole time I was just kind of on my yoga ball, and I was even using a TENS unit to try to relieve some of the pain in my back because I did have back labor. My husband's alarm goes off at 5 a.m. for work, so when his alarm went off, I went back into our room and kind of told him what was going on, and I showed him my contraction timer, and he went ahead and called the midwife and kind of explained to her what was going on. And she said, go ahead and come to the birth center, we can at least check you. And I felt a little defeated again because I didn't think I was in labor because my water still hadn't broke. We got to the birth center at around 7 a.m. and she checked me, and I was dilated to a 7. While we were at the birth center, I was just trying to do things to keep the contractions going. I was on and off the yoga ball. I was in and out of the shower. I went outside and I walked around the property, just curb walking, things like that, just trying to stay moving. Somebody woke up from their nap to join us, but as I was saying, my husband was applying counter pressure probably the entire time we were at the birth center, just because my back labor was so bad, and that's the only way I was really getting any little bit of relief. Around 2:30, my water still hadn't broke yet, and the midwives offered to break my water, but they told me it was going to intensify things. The idea of things intensifying sounded horrible, and I hit this huge mental block. After about an hour of that mental block, I finally realized my water's gonna have to break at some point. I might as well let them break it. The midwife broke my water at 3:30, and when she went to break my water, she told me I was at a 9. She broke my water and then immediately was like, oh, you just jumped to a 10, like you need to get in the tub. So I immediately got into the birthing tub, and my body just kind of took over. I started pushing. I was on my hands and knees for the first part of it. Eventually my midwife convinced me to flip onto my back and kind of sit against the back of the tub. She keeps grabbing my hair. The back of the tub to kind of hold my legs up and start pushing. And her head started to come out, and she crowned for probably a good like 4 or 5 minutes because my contractions just stopped. My midwife asked if I wanted to feel her head, and I immediately told her no because I was scared it wasn't going to be very far out, and that was going to feel so defeating. That would have like really done it for me mentally, I think. See, I got into the tub around 3:30, and she was born at 4:29, so I pushed for pretty much an hour. We waited to find out the gender, so it was the best surprise ever, especially because a lot of people thought I was having a boy. After she was born, we did skin to skin, and I delivered my placenta, and then my husband cut the cord, and then after he cut the cord, I had him do skin to skin while they pushed down on my stomach and stuff. After everybody left, I got to take an herbal bath in the birthing tub, which was so nice and so relaxing. And my husband, she's got the death grip on my hair. And my husband just sat there with Nova, and we just kind of got to hang out and have a moment alone together as a family, which was honestly so beautiful. The birth center we went to, you can stay for a minimum of 4 hours or a maximum of 6. Yeah, before it's not covered by insurance anymore. I birthed her at 4:30 and we were home and in bed by 10 p.m., which was honestly the best thing ever. I felt safe, I felt secure, I felt heard and validated in everything I wanted to do in birth and after birth. 10 out of 10 birth experience, and I will advocate for an unmedicated birth center birth every single time.